In a world of sameness, injecting personality and life into your marketing can create a key point of difference. Today's guest, Miss Sparkle herself, explains exactly how to do it. Yeah!
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. You, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner, and you are here because you want to crank out some great marketing, because you want to grow that business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. And gee, I hope you're on the way to doing that, because that's pretty much why this show exists. If you're here for the first time, stick with us. I hope the yeehaw up the front didn't scare you too much. And if you're here for the, 269th time, which is quite possible, because this is episode 298, then welcome back. Love you for coming back. Hey, big show today. We're joined by Miss Sparkle herself, Julie Cross. If you are in any way finding it hard to inject personality into your marketing, into your personal brand, then you're going to love this fireside chat I have with Jules. Oh, I get my nose out of joint. Yeah. And my ego a little bit bruised from a newspaper article on podcasting that appeared during the week. A little bit more on that in a minute. An interesting point of view from a forum member about criticism resulting from last week's episode. Got a motivational quote about the stories behind every small business. And I have got some event dates that I reckon you're going to be interested in. See, told you, big show. Lovingly brought to you, by the way, from the very good folk at Net Registry, who care about one thing, by the way, and that is, what is it? Huh? Yeah, you in the back row there. Correct. Getting your online marketing sorted. That's what they are very good at. Anything from domain names, hosting, website design, AdWords, you name it. Check out their exclusive listener packages over at netregistry.com.au/Timbo. And we're also made possible. We exist because key person of influence give me a little bit of money each week to make this show possible as well. Hey, wacky name, key person of influence, I know, but an amazing program if you are keen to become more visible, more valued, and more connected in your industry. Who wouldn't want to do that? They've got some amazing live events coming up, one of which I'll be attending. So more on them later. Hey, team, you with me? As per usual, there is marketing, GOLD, dripping. It's like seriously dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in.
Do you need a speaker for your next conference? Recommend Timbo to your event organiser. Or better still, book him. Tim Reid, that's reid.com.au.
Hey, before we get stuck into today's guest, Ripper interview, you are going to love this. It's a must-cover marketing topic. Does that make sense? A marketing topic that must be covered. Yeah, you with me? Hey, before we do that, little check-in. The Boomerang Effect is the name of my book. I signed off the proof today. Gee, there's a process involved in getting a book together. I'll take you through it one day in the future. I might get AG to interview me about the pain of bringing my book to market. I signed off the proof today. It will actually hit the machine that is called a printer next week. And I speak at my first conference with it at the back of the room, ready for purchase Wednesday week. Oh, that will be such a relief. If you do want to buy a copy, it's not available yet, but maybe you're listening to this in the future. I don't know. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and just register there. Put your name on my email list and I can spam the living daylights out of you. No, I wouldn't do that. Hey, this event coming up, listen to this. Our resident PR specialist, Sammy Lamb of Media Manoeuvres, she's got a great event coming up. If you are in Australia, maybe even fly from overseas. But it's a one-day event, so maybe don't fly from overseas. But I'd come in from interstate. It's called Pitch the Media. I'm going to be attending, and for very good reason, which I will share with you later in the show. Trust me, I need to go to this event. You will meet a whole lot of journalists, number one. You're going to get a tour of the 3AW radio station. You're going to spend the morning crafting your pitch with an expert team from Sam's Business Media Manoeuvres. Then, here's the kicker. You are going to get to pitch your business or whatever you want to pitch to the editor of Huffington Post, Channel 10 TV station in Australia team, their chief of staff, a couple of producers from 3AW, and a journalist from Smart Company. You with me? Boy, oh boy, what a big day. Get out of your comfort zone and attend this event. March 19, 2016 in Melbourne. Pitchthemedia.com.au is the website where you'll find out all about it. And I want to give you $100 off if you use the promo code Timbo. I'm going to be there. I suggest you do too.
There's a treasure trove of marketing gold over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Get on Timbo's mailing list over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
And I'm going to be there with good reason, let me tell you. Oh, boy. Hey, later in the show, I will explain all. Righto, today's guest. You are going to love it. Julie Cross. Love it? Love her. Julie Cross, a.k.a. Miss Sparkle. Now, Julie is a mate of mine. She is part of a group of speakers. We get together twice a year and pull each other's businesses apart. And she is just one beautiful human being with a lot to share with us motivated business owners. Now, let me tell you what we don't cover in this fireside chat first, because it's relevant to understanding what she's about to share. Now, it's the fact that Julie's personal life has been kind of full of a lot of challenges. Whose hasn't, really? But Julie's husband unexpectedly passed away a few years ago, leaving her to be the sole parent of her beautiful young autistic son. But as she says in her bio, it's our real-life experiences that form the foundation of an authentic and relatable message. And she is nailing it. Now, here's what you will discover and what we cover. How to own your own space, to be yourself in your marketing and the development of your personal brand. That right there is marketing gold. We talk about how the wearing of a little black bikini took Julie's business to another level. Now, fellas, I'm not suggesting you should do that, but ladies, hey, there might be some learning there. We could get into the mankini. We talk about how Facebook has been amazing for Julie's business growth, and why and how to get over irrational fears we all have as motivated business owners, plus so much more. I started off by asking Jules, what 3 words best describe her?
Oh, well, Timbo, I'm going to have to say sparkling, passionate, I would say, and happy, I would say joyful, yes.
What do you
joyful,
mean?
Sparkling.
That's 4.
Passionate. Well, I took out happy. Right. I changed it to joyful.
What do you mean by sparkly? Because sparkly, you kind of, what's really interesting about your business, and I'm going to ask you to describe what you do in a minute, you own the word sparkly, sort of, don't you? What do you mean by that?
Well, it is a little bit like that. I get called now Mrs. Sparkle, etc. So I do wear sequins when I present, and people know me for my sequins. And sparkle to me is all about standing out from the crowd and having the courage to own our space. When you kind of walk into a room with your sparkle on, people tend to look at you and do that thing of, who does she think she is, walking around like that? And it really becomes a foundation for everything that I talk about and everything my business is about having courage to own our space, that we were born into this world to stand out, not blend in. And that's the same as when we have a business. It's about standing out from the crowd. So your sparkle is your uniqueness. It's your unique personality. It's your strength. It's your courage. It's your resilience. It's your ability to add a little bit more of yourself to every interaction and every transaction. So it's a bright light in a world of beige.
Oh, sparkle. I like that. Geez, I like that, Jules.
Oh,
so
yes,
let's dig deeper on that, because owning your own space as business owners is very easily said. Many would argue much harder done. So like in the world I come from, the marketing world, I'm always talking about helpful marketing and how business owners should put themselves out in front of a camera or doing a podcast or writing a book or getting on stage and sharing their knowledge. And that's just unbelievably scary for them. Tell me more about the concept of owning your space and how we can do it.
Absolutely, because you're so right. I have a saying that says, where sparkle resides, fear subsides. And it's become an irrational fear. We seem to have become in society more scared of our emotional safety than our physical safety. And when I'm speaking, I challenge audiences and everybody that when they walk into a room, I can still put out 100 chairs and people will still always fill the room up from
The back.
And I challenge them on that. Like, what would happen to you? What would be the worst thing that happened is that I might look at you. I might ask you a question. Oh, my God, what if I don't know the answer? So you won't die. But what will everybody think? So somewhere along the line, we've become so scared of our emotional safety because our physical safety, in fact, is not at risk because they won't die. Nothing terrible. I'm not going to hit them over the head with anything. Nothing terrible is going to happen. They won't get hurt physically. And yet we are so fearful of worrying about what everybody else thinks of us. And you're so right. That will affect the way that we do everything, our confidence to do that video, to ask for the sale and handle the rejection, to ask for what you're worth. That all depends on you feeling comfortable in your own space. And I truly believe that until we own the space that we were born into, starting with our physical space, we can't own the stage that we chose to work from. And we all have different stages. We have different, some people have plumbing businesses, other people have mechanical business. I have a speaking stage to work from, but it's a stage nonetheless. And until we really get comfortable in our space, we can't get comfortable on the space that we've decided to work in and really, share the best of ourselves, share that sparkle. So it really is about going back to feeling great about who we are and knowing that we're all unique and different and the world needs us to show up.
Listeners, I forgot to remind you, and I really apologise for this, that Julie loves to talk. Loves to talk. No, I love it, Jules. Let's go. So tell me then, in order for us to really understand this concept of owning your own space, tell us about the moment in time, way back when you stepped into your space and owned it for the first time.
Wow, that's interesting question, Tim. When I really stepped into my space and owned it for the first time, I think it was when I was hairdressing, actually. And when I started hairdressing, I found myself consumed by fitting into the crowd. I mean, a lot of people become a hairdresser for different reasons. It might be because they love to cut hair, love to, because they're good communicators, because they talk a lot, which I'd be a really good hairdresser because I'm a really good communicator. I talk a lot. And there's many different reasons, but I just wanted to be a hairdresser because I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be one of the cool kids. I wanted to be like the cool kids and fit into the cool crowd. And that's when I lost my sparkle. And somewhere along that journey, a manager I had in my 4th year of hairdressing gave me my first personal development book. And I don't remember the name of it, but I do remember it talked about this, about owning our space. And I remembered then that there was enough of fitting in with the crowd. I had to be who I was. And in being who I was, I would attract the people around me that liked me for who I was. So rather than trying to fit in with the crowd, I learned how to stand in my own space. And that was very much the foundation that my business was all built on.
You're very lucky, Jules, because that sounds to me like an epiphany. Listeners who old-time listeners of this show know that I'm so interested in people who are lucky enough to have an epiphany. Just to get clear, you were reading a book that your manager of the hairdresser salon that you were working at gave you, a personal development book. On a page it says "Own your own space," and then you go, okay, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, suddenly It's like, well, I've got this. This is what I need to do. And it was just such a relief to almost be given permission that it's okay that everybody's not going to get you. It's okay that everybody's not going to like you. It's okay if you wear that and somebody doesn't like it. So what? So what?
You would, in your fast forward to today with your speaking business where you share this wonderful message to thousands of people each year from stage, there must be a lot of people, as you said earlier, who come to your sessions and they say, oh, God, here's this Sheila wearing the sparkles, walking up and down on stage, talking about sparkles. Who does she think she is? We've all got those people in our lives. What's your... maybe defence mechanism's not the right word, but how do you handle those people in your mind?
The people that may be judging me negatively.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
it's, when I first started speaking, and so I get challenged on these. I had the epiphany, but that doesn't mean that I don't get challenged,
Of course.
on owning that every day and that I have to work on it like everything else. And so when I first started speaking, because it was a new arena for me, a new stage, I would give out, when I first started doing it, I'd give out 100 feedback forms. I'd get 99 positive, 1 negative. And what do you think I used to
You put that negative one up on a pedestal.
Oh, absolutely. I would beat myself with that negative for the next month. I would talk about it and I would, lose sleep over it. But once again, you have that moment, you read something else, you sit with yourself again and you go, Julie, it doesn't even make any actual business common sense for me to change my presentation to suit the one, not even if there were 10, because I still had 90 that liked it. So I'm going to have to let you go. It doesn't mean that I'm going to feel negative about you. It doesn't mean I'm going to dislike you or talk about you. I'm just going to let you go. Mm-hmm. And so it's a conscious decision now for me to do that. And I actually challenge my audiences with that and say that. There's somebody sitting there in front of me today that's probably thinking, oh, my gosh, does she ever stop talking?
The answer's no, team. The answer is no.
So I say, I'm going to have to let you go. I mean, we just need enough of the people, enough of the time. And that doesn't mean you don't take constructive criticism or feedback. I'm not saying that. But you just choose what you beat yourself up with and what you let go. And all the famous people are people that don't like them. Mm. And
I love famous. That. Love that. Interestingly enough, I interviewed a fellow just before interviewing you today. His name's Jay Bayer, and he's written a book called Hug Your Haters, right? Mm. His idea is that one person, of the 99 people that gave you feedback and the good feedback and the one person who didn't, he said that's the most valuable person in your business right now, because the 99, wonderful to get the pats on the back, loved what you did, Jules, but that one person, we can learn from that person. Do you agree with that, or do you still just let them go and don't give them any?
Yeah, well, I don't disagree. I mean, if they want to come and share something, then obviously I'll be, receptive to hearing what they have to say. So like I said, it's not like you don't take on feedback. Don't take on, somebody's advice or somebody's feelings, because you're right. Sometimes there's an absolute gift in that, and that was the universe. I talk to the universe a lot, as you know, Timbo, but that was the universe nudging you to say that, I needed you to get this message today. So I'm not saying I'm not receptive to that, absolutely. And do you know the other thing I've noticed is sometimes the people that were most uncomfortable hearing your message or felt really discontent with it, or perhaps gave me the body language that they weren't getting it, are some of the people that actually go on to get the message the most in reflection afterwards. It's just because sometimes it's uncomfortable to hear too what you need to hear. So, yeah.
So, Jules, let's bring it back to this is a really good discussion for listeners who I'm encouraging to be them, to create marketing that embraces who they are. I strongly believe people buy from people. To create personal brand is a very powerful marketing strategy because you build trust and familiarity with your prospects. What about those people who are just going, I don't know whether I can do this. I can't be myself. I hate the sound of my voice. My hair's terrible. My teeth are crooked. I don't know much. I'm not as smart as the next person. What do you say to them?
Oh, look, I went through all of that and I still have moments of going through all of that.
Don't we all?
Absolutely relate. That's right. And that's what makes us human. And that's what people will actually connect to. I just say to people, you've got to go and, I don't call myself a professional speaker. I prefer to call myself a passionate speaker. It is, when I'm on stage, I don't worry about not making a mistake, because sometimes it is in a mistake that I make my most deepest connection, because they see the real, authentic Julie. Yep. And suddenly you become so relatable. People want to be affected by real people and not the professional version of me. They want the authentic, real version of Julie. And so we need to relax into ourselves and know that whoever you are today, you are unique, you're individual, you're amazing, you're miracles.
You're talking about me?
Yes, darling.
Thank
of
you,
course,
darling.
Timbo.
Yeah. We are recording this, Jules.
Oh, sorry.
This is fascinating because, the best job that I ever did in my speaking career was when the technology didn't work. I had no slide deck, the projector wasn't working, nothing. And it was, and the conference organiser was having a meltdown. I said, stop, don't worry, just let me get on stage. And because I had nothing to follow, I just was myself. And I went with the flow, and oh my God, I still look back and go, funnily enough, I'll actually say this honestly, and it's kind of a little bit embarrassing. I wish it would happen again. Or I wish I could do that again. I don't wish it would happen again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, because you were being you.
I was totally me. I
totally
couldn't,
you from the heart, being Timbo. Age, real honest.
And I tell you what, right now, Jules, I have thrown out my list of questions for this interview because I'm not going to follow the structure. I'm just going with. You're going freestyle, mate.
You've got sparkle going on, Timbo.
Because it's too fascinating. It's too big a point for business owners not to get, having listened to this chat. So. And
when I started this, Timbo, when I talked about sparkle, and because I do men as well. I mean, I don't do them. I haven't been more business. But sorry.
I'm not even going there.
When I'm dressed in sparkle, I can see men coming in thinking, oh, my gosh, what's this about? This must be for women. And so for men, I say that, women are in touch with their sparkle, men are in touch with their spark. And so, the guys get it too once we're sort of talking about this message. And I think initially when I started doing it, I know that there were people that sort of thought that this was all a bit of fluff. But you're so right. It's about people marketing to people. So it's about nurturing somebody's heart and connecting there. We're getting our heads so filled with information and policy and procedures and statistics, and all that's important. But we still need to add the heart value. In a high-tech world, we need high touch. And so when all the PowerPoint went out or, you didn't have it, all the technical stuff, they got high touch. There was none of the technical. So what they got from Timbo was high touch.
Yep.
And I think that that's what we forget sometimes. Is that you're right, we're connecting with people. We've got to inspire them to buy from us.
There is a really interesting exercise you can go through in terms of when, as a business owner, it comes time to write the next sales letter or the next page for your website or the next blog post or whatever. If you are the writer of that copy, go and write it as if you were literally talking it. And in fact, if you want to take that a step further, just record yourself saying it instead of writing it.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
And there might be, you might do a little bit of an edit with the ums and the ahs, but goodness me. Do you mind if we talk about how this is playing out in your book that you're writing at the moment, Jules?
No, not at all.
Yeah, okay. Because you and I went for a wonderful walk through Noosa National Park recently, and we're both pulling a book together. It's like pulling heads, Steve, but hey.
Yeah, that's right.
But you've got this wonderful style and wonderful tone and personality for your brand, your personal brand, and you've written this book to represent that, but you've sent it off to an editor who's tried to change it and maybe take a bit of that personality back, and you're starting to realise it's just not working for you, yeah?
Yes, that's right. And I guess for me, because it's the first time I've sort of gone through this process of having somebody else look at my work and change it, that it is it was a real eye-opener for me in what to let go and what to keep, because that is my style. And you're so right that I don't want it to look like everybody else's work, because it's got to be uniquely me, like all of us. And I think sometimes it happens when we write or when we speak. We see it with speakers as well, that they become so professional that they lose their unique personality.
Yes.
And it all becomes so right.
Yep.
And make sure we stand behind the lectern. I mean, nobody puts Julie behind a lectern, I can tell you that, Timbo.
I can imagine.
And it's the same with my writing.
You wouldn't see you.
No, there is that. And you're right, it's the same with the writing, that it's such a balance between, of course, it's got to be grammatically correct and, spelling errors, but we can't, once again, policy and procedure, the personality out of everything. We can't correct the personality out of things. We've got to maintain that uniqueness, because that's what people will connect to. So that has been a challenge for me, and it was a real eye-opener, yes.
Totally.
So thanks, Spice, on that.
Listeners, I'm chatting with Miss Sparkle herself, Julie Cross, before we talk about how her business came about and how she uses Facebook incredibly effective to grow that business. Here's a word from a couple of sponsors that want to help grow yours. This show is made possible by Key Person of Influence, which, according to the Huffington Post, is the world's leading brand accelerator program. Now, they've got some very cool one-day events coming up with some amazing speakers. So I asked head honcho Glenn Carlson to pick his favourite. His answer may well surprise you.
That's horrible, mate. I'm going to have to say, while there's Matthew, who's built, the third fastest growing company in Australia, sold it for tens of millions. Valerie is obviously one of the best content creators in Australia, talking about profile. Tim, his company's built over $1 billion worth of value in his clients. Andrew Griffiths, 12 best-selling books. But, mate, I'm the MC. I'm the one that brings it all together. So, despite all these amazing speakers that have got incredible tenure in their space, I'm gonna say my favourite's got to be me.
Oh, you got to love a big cheese that backs himself. All jokes aside, do your business a favour and grab a $57 seat over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. Support for this show comes from Net Registry, a one-stop shop for getting your online marketing sorted. Verity Ma, their Chief Marketing Officer, recently told me this story of a very happy mechanic.
So one of my favourite stories of customers that I heard was a salesperson was talking to a mechanic, and he was talking about what sort of email he would like to have and what kind of hosting, whether he wants cloud or cPanel hosting. And the mechanic just said, look, I don't care, build my website, here's my phone number, make my phone ring and send me the bill. And that was the last we heard of him. He didn't provide us content. He didn't provide us any details about his business. We had his contact details. We wrote all the content and we just got his phone ringing and sent him the bill.
Net Registry, where happy mechanics go to grow their business online. Visit netregistry.com.au or give them a buzz on 1300 638 734. And tell them Timbo sent you. Now, Jules, let's talk about, you've been speaking for a long time, but that transition from hairdressing or whatever you're doing prior to speaking to now you get on stage and show people how to find their sparkle. How did all that come about?
Yes, it has been a long time, Timbo. It was actually 19 years ago. I should be much more famous, shouldn't I?
No, you're famous, mate, in my mind anyway.
Thanks, Timbo. So, it was 19 years ago and I was working as a technician for the hairdressing industry, which means I was training hairdressers in how to use hair product. But I could just see a huge gap in giving them the information once again in their heads, the formulas and information on how to use the product, and their ability to go and then communicate that and to a client, inspire the client to buy from them, to do business with them, to get excited about it. And that could have been through, an attitude problem, mood management, lack of confidence, lack of a vision of owning their jobs for the big vision. So I started weaving those concepts in my training and I loved doing that and I got some great feedback. And then I had a baby and Jack was 6 months old and I read a book called Speak and Grow Rich. And I thought that's what I want to do. I bought a whiteboard, rang some hairdressers and sold in some little training ideas and started a business.
Love it. 19 years down the track.
That was 19 years ago. And then it just evolved from there. I tell the story that I did trainings for salons and then a hairdressing company heard about what I was doing. They picked me up and we did 2 national tours and they called them seminars. I thought that was pretty posh.
Yeah.
I joined the National Speakers Association in 2009 in Brisbane and they had a speaking competition on. I come second in the heat in Brisbane and I went on to win that competition nationally. So I was now a professional speaker.
Woo!
Woohoo. But I found my true calling, Timbo, a couple of years ago when a client emailed me and she said, Julie, when are you bringing your show to town? It's a show. It's not a training. We do shows.
Yeah.
So, that's how it evolved.
And did you say a couple of years ago that happened?
Oh, yeah, it would have been about 3 years ago, I think.
Love it.
Yeah, so, and you take signs from your audience or from your customers, from the people that you do business with. I think that we get so many little nuggets of great inspiration of where we should be heading or how we should market ourselves from our audience.
Yeah, how? Give me an example of, because those signs, they're subtle.
Well, the show one, it's a show. So that show concept has become one of my biggest marketing things. When people talk to me now, they talk about Julie and her shows. When your next show, Julie's a speaker who does shows. So that's really, I don't do seminars. It's a show. And I was actually doing a public show, Timbo, in Brisbane a little while ago, and a lady rang up and said, Julie, I need 2 tickets to your concert. It's a concert. I didn't know how to tell her it's not a concert. So it kind of gets a life of its own. But that's created a uniqueness for me. The other one was I was in my mother's group when I just started my business, and I used to go to work wearing corporate gear like everybody else. And one of the mothers in my mother's group said to me, Julie, I just walked past a shop today. Now, this is 19 years ago where there was sparkle nowhere. And she said they had these little sequin shirts hanging up the window, and as soon as I saw them, I thought of you and your personality. That's a sign
It's
for
a sign.
me.
Yeah,
To me, that's somebody speaking to me saying, this is your difference. And then I wore those shirts and I tied that in then with my whole sparkle message of having the courage to stand out from the crowd, like it takes courage to wear those shirts at the airport at 7 o'clock in the morning. and, there's analogies in that because it will take courage for you to stand out from your business because people sometimes will look at you and go, who do you think you are doing things like that? Who do you think you are being so successful? The braver we are, the braver we'll need to be. So every time I wear my sequins, it's communicating exactly that.
That's a very Australian mindset too. I mean, we have a lot of overseas listeners, a lot in America, and I would imagine that they're kind of going, that's not unusual, like wear your sequins in the airport and, tell them how good you are because, we Australians are a bit hopeless. We've got that kind of, tall poppy thing happening, haven't we?
We do a little bit,
Yeah.
So that was another great sign, and I'm so glad I listened to that. And it wasn't comfortable, Timbo, the first time I did that. It wasn't comfortable walking into a corporate environment to speak in my sequin shirt. Sometimes we've got to do, there was fear for me around that, but sometimes we've got to walk through that and go with that feeling and trust that and if it didn't work, so what? I wasn't going to die.
Sit with the fear. What do they say?
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
That's Susan Jeffers, yeah.
That's a book, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I haven't read it. Always meant to read that one, but I think it's a bit big, might be a bit long, or the type is a bit small.
I think you'd handle it.
Feel the fear and do it anywhere. I liked what you said earlier too, is that it's often a rational fear, which is like often we break through these kind of blockages or fears we have and we look back behind us and go, what on earth was I worried about?
Well, yeah, exactly right. What was I worried about? I have a little thing that I say is that, there will be rooms not entered, there will be parties not attended, there will be speeches not delivered, poems not written, songs not sung, sales not asked for, businesses not started, success not had, dreams not realised, goals not set, all because we were worried about what somebody else would think. So what?
Oh,
At the end of the life, we don't do that, We can't play small. This is our time.
Can we just end this call now? I'm off to create something massive. Hey, I've had enough. I've got too many ideas bubbling away.
Oh, you just want to go and put some sequins on.
I've actually got some on, Jules, so it's a massive assumption of yours. Now, buddy, let's talk about how this beautiful brand of Julie Cross markets herself. Already you've shared some things. You do some great things around your personal brand. But from what I understand, Facebook, would it be overstating it to say has been instrumental in helping you grow your business?
No, it certainly has. I would say that is definitely a fair comment.
Right.
It has, since I found Facebook in 2011. And I didn't have any plan for it. I'm not a planner, Timbo. Mm-hmm. But it certainly has. It's. I love social media.
Hold that Facebook thought. Hold that Facebook thought. I'm not a planner either. Are you embarrassed to say that? Because sometimes I am.
Yeah, I did sound embarrassed, and I probably am. Yeah. I feel like everybody plans.
Me too.
I'm organic.
Oh, my God.
I've gone wild.
Marketing plan and business plan and plan to go to the bathroom.
I know. I've got to start planning some straight rows. I'm so organic that I'm just all over the place.
So the conversation I have with myself in regards to that planning topic is I will become a better planner. I'll start one day. I'll do a one-page plan around this and another one around that. And I don't do it.
No,
and
let me make a list.
And then I do a list. Surely you do a list. Don't you do a list? Oh my God!
I do a bit of a list.
So do you know that feeling of like crossing things off a list? Do you not get that feeling?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I do, yeah.
Beautiful feeling. There needs to be a name. There needs to be a name for it.
Yeah.
So with the planning, Jules, so my conversation finishes, well, you know what? I've got this far and I'm just not a planner. I'm much more emotional than I am rational. That I get on with things.
Yeah, that sounds like me too, Tim.
Right.
We need to start a group.
We'll put a plan in place and send it to me.
Yeah.
So, mate, tell me, Facebook. So you found it. You didn't know what you were going to do with it, but this is 5 years ago. You're thinking. So what have you found that Facebook has done for you?
Well, Facebook's been just this wonderful platform where I get to connect with my audience from both ends. So people that I have connected with on stage, I get to show up in their lives every day and still give them a little dose of inspiration and sparkle. So it means I'm staying in touch with them. And also it means that I'm connecting with people who I'm not yet connected with, but somebody has told them about my posts and what I write. And so that leads to new clients. It leads to people coming to my public shows. It leads to people sharing my page and my messages. And so it's been a wonderful tool for me.
Tell us about your Facebook secret sauce then. What because there's so many business owners that here's what they think. They either think, I'll get on Facebook and it'll be the silver bullet for my business. It's all I need. Others go, I don't even know where to start. I'm not going to get on it. And if I get on it, there'll be trolls come along and complain and say negative stuff. So I'm not going to go there. So what's your secret sauce to making Facebook work for you?
Once again, it's what I do on stage. It's being real. It's being honest. I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
So anything I write, people want their hearts connected to. I'm not into just doing advertising, etc. The way I have built an audience is one story at a time. And so I tell stories, and I think that any product we sell, there is an emotional story attached to every product that we sell. So to me, it's about finding the story behind the sale, the interaction with your customer, the engagement. And so Brené Brown says that storytelling is data with soul attached. And I really believe that. It's a way of...
Say that again, storytelling?
Is data with soul attached.
Oh, nice.
So it's a way of sharing data on what you do, but it's about connecting with people's hearts and inspiring them to want to be connected with you and to buy from you. It's connecting that to them emotionally and not just in their heads.
Okay, give me an example of a story that you've told that is data with soul attached.
Okay, so, shall I go to the bikini post?
Woo!
Shall we go there?
Yeah, the black bikini post.
The black bikini post. So it was in November 2014, and I do a post every day on social media. So, I didn't study how to engage with an audience or how to get a post to go viral or anything.
Yeah.
I just do a little post every day and one post at a time. And that's the other thing, Timbo, when you talk about people getting started, it's like people think that you've got to do a post and then if you didn't get 150 likes, it wasn't any good. You've got to start somewhere. So you just do a post. And you go from there and then you do another one and then you do another one. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. So anyway, it was in November 2014. I'd been to the beach in my bikini and, 47 years old, and some people made a few comments about me in my bikini. And then I started, you go to, and it's one of the things I talk about, owning your space, owning your physical space. And I'm so tired of going to the supermarkets and seeing the magazines with all the body image with women and their bodies and comparing, girlfriends talking about it. So I came home, got my son to take a photo of me in my bikini. He was wrapped, as you can imagine. And then I put it on Facebook with a story around how enough is enough. It's time we owned our space. It's time we stopped comparing ourselves physically. Who do I apologise for the stretch marks from carrying 2 9-pound healthy baby boys? And who do I apologise for the dimples in my thigh that you thought was cute when I was 3? I'm healthy. I'm strong. There are bigger issues to worry about. I'm owning my space. Enough is enough. Let's be kind to each other. So it was a post similar to that. Now, I just did that as I would normally do on a Sunday, a little post for my tribe. The next day it had 120,000 likes and the phone started ringing. By the end of that week, 210,000 likes, 14,800 comments, 45 points of contact with the media, at least worldwide.
Brilliant.
And apparently I think that went viral.
That's viral, Jules. That's viral right there.
And so that astounded me. That wasn't manufactured. I mean, that just happened as a result, I guess, of me building up an audience, but also understanding what makes people's hearts sing, what they connect to, what they respond to, what nurturing they need, what messages need to be heard. And so, yeah, that was really surprising, and it was a big learning curve, I can tell you, in that week.
And that was, I imagine that as a kind of pivotal point for taking your business to another level because of when you talk about media too, by the way, you've got national TV coverage. Interesting, there's a faux pas, national TV courage.
Yeah, it took some courage, I can tell you. That was one of my moments of feeling very fearful, and it was an interesting interview, actually. It was on 7 with Koshi, and as they were interviewing me, and my mouth was so dry because I was so nervous. And they finished the interview and left. And so then I'm drinking a big drink of water, and then they came back to me, and there I am drinking this big drink of water, and then I go, what? Am I on? Oh, I go, oh, I'm so good at this, aren't I?
Oh, I love it.
You know what, Timbo, the next a little bit of what I said afterwards was the nugget of the whole interview, because in that moment, in that mistake, in that moment of I relaxed into myself. Suddenly you had the authentic Julie. It's all out there now. This is me. And so, it was a real experience. And handling the media, what a learning curve that was.
What's your big learning there? One big learning.
That you have to take control and make sure in the interview that you get across what you want heard.
Do you notice how much control I've got over this interview?
We're just organic.
Yeah, it was like throwing the questions away 7 minutes in. I'm scrolling through your Facebook, Jules. You do a mix of wonderful storytelling. Your posts they can go into the hundreds of words.
Yeah, I get called Mrs. Seymour because you've always got to click Seymour.
I love it. You do lots of visual stuff, quotes and pictures of yourself, and you share your family life. There's photos of your boy Tom there. You've got all sorts of stuff, and it's wonderfully honest and on brand, and you are very clear on what I call your editorial mission. You know what you're about and you stick to it.
Yes. I do, and I didn't start out doing that consciously, which is interesting, I guess. I've just done it, and I get what my audience relate to, so I guess I give them more of that. And because I do share, I feel comfortable sharing, and not everyone has to, so much of myself and my life, because that's who they see on stage. So to me, this is an extension of my authenticity. They get to keep knowing a little bit more about me, and I think people can. That's me sharing my heart, and that's what people connect to. And when you said before about not editing things too much, and I said this to somebody else the other day who was asking me about my Facebook, and I said when I write a post, I often post it and don't reread it before I've posted it, because if I reread it and analysed it, much of what I write probably wouldn't even go onto my page.
Oh, yeah.
I write from the heart and I let it go, and then I go back and correct all my misspelling errors.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Just gotta, sometimes our hearts are telling us, this is what I want to say, this is what I want to write, this is, how I want to engage, but our heads get involved and we run it through a lens of worrying about what everyone thinks and all that stuff, rather than just sometimes going with the feeling and what we truly wanted to say.
Listeners, I just want to replay what Jules just said then, because you can, it's a podcast, and it's so important because they're such easy words to say, but if you can find the courage to go with who you are and be yourself and not edit yourself and not question not try and second guess what other people are going to think, and I'm as guilty of it as anyone else, then you'll find things come easier. And I'm talking from a marketing perspective, but obviously Jules is talking from a much bigger life perspective, but I'm only a little bloke. So, Jules, love it. Off the back of what you've done on Facebook with your stage show, soon to have a book. I'm putting pressure on your book there, mate. Notice how I'm subtly just kind of dropped. You've got no choice but to publish your book now,
It's happening. It's
out there. You have built a tribe. You have very clearly built a tribe. And it's interesting, you said to me earlier, you should be more famous than you are. And I know you were sort of half joking, and I know that there is also some truth around that. But one of the things you said earlier is we need enough of the people, enough of the time, right? And clearly you have that in your business life. And now with this tribe that you've built, you're putting on live events of your own, live Julie Sparkle concerts, yes?
No, yes.
So, again, what a great marketing strategy. It's a new revenue channel. It plays to your strength. Are these live events easy?
No. They're not easy, and certainly they have gotten easier to fill since the wonderful world of social media. And I've been doing live events for some time, but once again, it might have started with an audience of 10, and then if I could get 30 in a room, I thought that was amazing. But you still have to work to get your people in the room. And at the beginning of last year, I had my biggest audience here in Brisbane, which was just over 300 in a row. And that was wonderful. I
Mate,
mean,
that is unreal.
It was a wonderful thing. And that social media, that is people that feel like their hearts are being nurtured through my posts, that are inspired, that then say to other people, you've got to go and see this lady, let's all go and see this lady's show, she writes all this great stuff. So, or people that have seen me, want to bring their husbands or children or teenagers or daughters or sisters. And so once again, I listened to what my audience was saying. When I would go and do a corporate event, people would leave and say, Julie, how can my daughter get to see you? Or how can my sister get to see you? She really needs to hear this. So that to me was my audience saying to me, Julie, it's time for a public show.
Jules, just tell me about that moment, walking out on stage, however many months ago it was, to 300 people that have made the effort, the time and paid to come and see Julie Cross.
I was actually fairly emotional, Timbo, because you're right. I've spoken to bigger audiences through my speaking engagements, but to have an audience that all wanted to come, that weren't told to come as part of a work event or anything, but all chose to go and buy a ticket and come to see little old Julie Cross from Mullet Creek up on a stage, it's humbling. I felt honoured. I felt overwhelmed. I thought, who do I think I am?
Did you cry?
I had a little cry afterwards.
Little tear?
Yeah, I don't often cry on stage, but I have a little cry afterwards. So, it was a wonderful feeling, and I feel very honoured and very respectful of that space that I'm given. And it's overwhelming sometimes, actually, that people, I look out and go, you want to pay to come and hear what I've got to say?
You deserve it, mate. You deserve everything you get and more. And I've got to ask, did you say, are you from Mullet Creek?
Oh, Mullet Creek was one of the little towns I lived in near Bundaberg.
Love it. I didn't know there was one, but that's one of the great names. And overseas listeners, if you don't know what a mullet is, Google it. Now, and it's not a fish. Now, Jewel, and funny you come from a Mullet Creek, given you're a hairdresser by trade. So it's all just becoming really funny now and kind of a little bit too weird.
So don't go there, Timbo.
Mate, you've built something. You deserve every bit of it, and the trials and tribulations that you have in your life and that you're willing to share with people so that they can have a better life, I just think's really honourable, and I loves you, Jules.
Oh, thanks, Timbo. It's such an honour to be on your show.
Stop it.
You've got a show too.
I cry on my show, so just be careful.
That's all right.
Get all emotional. Hey, how do people find you?
People can find me, juliecross.com.au, and there'll be links there to all my social media platforms, and I would love to be connected.
Good on you, mate. Well, I'm going to encourage people to go over to Facebook and check out Julie Sparkle without the A.
That's it.
And give her some love in there and tell her you heard her on this show and that she should come back and share some more love and later so that we can all learn to own our own space. Thanks, Jules.
Thanks, Timbo. Thank you to your wonderful audience. I appreciate you. Thank you.
There you go, team. Miss Sparkle herself, Julie Cross. What a beautiful human being. Now, I want to share my top 3 attention grabbers from that fireside chat with Jules, and I'm going to share these thanks to the good folk at Key Person of Influence, whose one-day brand accelerator, not to be missed. Go on, grab a seat. I'll see you at the Melbourne event, keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo and netregistry.com.au/Timbo, where you will find 3 exclusive packages to help get your business found online. Because you are who Google says you are, team. Hey? Righto, top 3 attention grabbers. Number 1, decide now to own your space. Stuff what others say. Get over your irrational fears you have that are holding you back and just get on with being your best self in your marketing. We can do this as business owners. We can create the business, the brand we want based on who we are. I think that's really exciting. Attention grabber number 2, stop trying to be everything to everyone. We just need enough of the people, enough of the time, says Jules. Love that quote. Attention grabber number 3, find the story behind each and every product, service or offering in your business. There will be one. There will absolutely be one. Find it, articulate it and share it. As Jules says, storytelling is simply data with soul attached. She is a walking quote book, that lady. Love her. Hey, what was your biggest takeaway? There's got to be one. Let Jules and I know in the show notes. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Look for episode 298 in the search box. Leave us your feedback. Your feedback? No, don't leave us your feedback. Leave us your feedback. Paul Ryan once said, behind every small business, there's a story worth knowing. All the corner shops in our towns and cities, the cafes, dry cleaners, gyms, hair salons and hardware stores. These didn't come out of nowhere. That is my nose getting out of joint and my ego being bruised, team. Oh boy, let me explain. So an article appears in the Age newspaper this week titled Warts and All Podcasts for Entrepreneurs, written by their small business editor, Cara Waters. Now, it's a great article talking about the wonderfulness of podcasting and references shows including Pro Bloggers, Beers, Bloke and Business, as well as The New Normal. 3 great podcasts. The problem was, it didn't reference this show. Oh, the tears. So, I got on the blower to my mate Sammy Lamb at Media Manoeuvres to find out where I went wrong.
Look, media is often luck of the draw. So if I look at that article, the only one in there that we would probably all think of is Pro Blogger as a household name. The others, I'm like, where did these come from? So I was really interested in this article as well, and I actually thought, where is Timbo, my mate, in here? So
because I should add to that, this is, I don't want this to come across egotistical. I want it to come across as learnings for all of us, including me.
Yep.
But if you Google marketing podcast, small business podcast, guess who appears on page 1? If you go to iTunes, guess who's in the top 10 more often than not? And nothing against these other podcasters. I love all of them that are mentioned in this article, but none of them Google or rank as well as I do.
Yeah, it's interesting because I rang my friend Cara Waters, who was a journalist, and, not everybody can ring and have a conversation like that, but I was able to do that. And I asked her that exact question. How did she get the people that were in here? Or why did she even write the article first, I asked her. And it was a personal interest. So, you can't read journalists' minds. So you have to keep being in touch with the right type of journalist for you, which is either a digital or tech or a small business journal. Small business journals are great for small business owners, clearly, not rocket science.
Yeah.
But you have to keep being in touch with them with different ideas and following them and commenting on their stories so you're on their radar. I asked her how she found these ones, and she said, I was interested in podcasting as a start. That was what made me do the story. She said, I just knew about these podcasters here, and I'd say, I don't know because I haven't asked about her personal life, but I'd say she's probably maybe a mum with young children at home, maybe struggling to do the whole multitasking as parents and being in business or, being a journalist. So she had an interest somewhere along the line that they were on her radar. That's literally how she got to them.
That's it.
Yep, that's it. And she also wanted a different mix of different types of bloggers, podcasters. So that came in it as well.
Well, they're all podcasters. Darren happens to be a blogger as well. But that makes sense. So the learning for me, and by the way, I don't have my nose out of joint except to say that for me it's great learning because I need to be actively, and we spoke about this on the episode in which you appeared a number of months ago about getting earned media. But,
Yep.
I have not actively sought out journalists in the small business space for a long time and maybe arrogantly assumed that, well, I'm on their radar. Clearly not. I'm not on Cara's. But if we want to get that earned media attention, then we need to be hitting them up on Twitter. We need to be emailing them. We need to be, I don't know, buying them coffee, sending them our book, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. You've got to stay on their radar, and that's exactly as you said, stay on their radar. And it's a slow burn. You know, you might not get anything for a month, but then suddenly you might get something in the first week when you're talking to them or emailing them or being in touch in whatever way that is. But it might not. It might be a slow burn, but you can't actually stop because you're in their heads 1 minute and out the next unless you're engaging. It's all about relationship. Same as anything.
Yeah, and that's where for me, it kicks in, Sammy. I go, oh, gee, it feels a bit false staying in contact with them on a fortnightly or monthly basis. But I guess, therefore, the challenge is to make sure that I've got something of interest to share with people like Cara, as opposed to just going, hey, don't forget I'm here.
Yeah, well, it's got to be something of interest, or you can just comment on things that they've written. So go in, follow Cara. There's on the page.
Don't you worry about that. I already am now.
Well, comment on some of her stories. Don't sell all the time. Don't you pitch all the time. Just be on the radar, whatever that is. Have a good idea, pitch to her. Comment on her story, do that. One thing I want to tell you, though, do not make the mistake, and I know she will have probably had, and I hope you didn't do this, Timbo. She probably would have had, I'd say, 10 calls today from other podcasters that said, well, look, this, you know, I've got a great story here that they might not have given her a hard time. But once the story's written, forget it. Move on. She's on to another story.
Had she had phone calls from other podcasters?
She had, yes.
I love it.
Yeah. So don't be a bunny and do that.
I did go searching for a phone number. That's when I thought, I'll ring Sammy.
Yes, that's the right thing to do.
That's so
don't
funny.
Ring after the fact because she's not going to do anything. She's just written the story. It's gone, done. Horse has bolted, all that.
Gotcha. So just to be clear, Sam, to put a bow on it, the podcasters that she did mention, and I love them all, Emma and Tess from The New Normal, the boys from Blokes and Beer. What's it called? Beer and Blokes?
Blokes and Business.
Beer, Blokes and Business. And Darren from Pro Blogger. Love them all. They didn't necessarily hit her up with a story, but for some reason, and we don't know why, they happened to be on her podcasting radar, correct?
That is the bottom line. So be active, and if you happen to be in, what journalists like, read them. She might be interested in your side of things. If she's not a businesswoman, so she's more likely to be a mother with young children trying to juggle and balance than she is a businesswoman because she's clearly working for newspapers and Fairfax.
Love it.
So it's an interest. If she's interested, if you find people interested in your interests, go for it.
Well, Sammy, and now I'm going to talk to Cara because I'm going to send her the link to this and tell her to listen to it. I'm not going to call her. I am going to send her the link to this episode, though, just so she knows. And right now, I'm going to thank her for doing an article on podcasting because at the end of the day, podcasting is the winner.
There you go, because I contacted her and said, I'm going to do a podcast on your podcast article. So your follow-up will be perfect.
Love it. Thanks, Sammy.
Okay. See you, Timbo.
Righto. Let's leave it at that, team. My nose is no longer out of joint. Well, maybe 2 degrees, 3 degrees. And my ego, well, it's back to its healthy self. Righto, let's get on with much more pressing matters. Listener feedback. Last week's episode with Jay Bear, Hug Your Haters, the author of a wonderful book about Hug Your Haters. Got some great feedback from actually a forum member and listener. She's our resident psychologist, Kiralee Smout. She said of this episode, one of the best episodes yet. Really, really helpful. Thanks, Kiralee. Jay is a smart guy. I did, however, disagree with his "you learn nothing from praise" point. I actually think a lot of people either don't know or underestimate the power of what they do right. And praise helps them recognise it and do it more often. Yeah, fair call. Got to love a bit of praise. Back to Kiralee. She says, so praise can be super useful. However, I know this underlying point that criticism can be far more powerful as a learning tool. Thanks, Tim. This was an awesome episode. I enjoyed that episode, Kiralee, and I take your point. And so does Jay, because I sent him your thoughts and his response, great point, and not the first time I've heard it. I like Kiralee's angle a lot. Well, he agrees. Personally, I love constructive criticism. As long as I've got my thick skin on the day, I just find constructive criticism is so much more helpful. Particularly speaking a lot at conferences, when I come off stage, there's always people who come up and say, loved what you had to say, loved your keynote, loved your talk. And that's very helpful. But I always say, thank you. What did you love about it? Or what are you going to implement? I'd find it interesting and it would be challenging if someone came up and said, geez, mate, you could have done better. That would hurt. But I'd also say, well, what didn't you like about it? Because I'll improve on that. So I think I like constructive criticism more than I do praise. But you raise a really interesting point, Kiralee. Team, what do you reckon? If you want to have discussions like this, join the Small Business Big Marketing Forum over at crankmymarketing.com. Righto, team. I think that's about it. Nearly. Plenty of marketing gold, though, coming your way in the weeks ahead. I think you're going to enjoy next week's episode. Very different to today's episode. We're joined by the rideshare guy. His name's Harry Campbell, and he left a very high-paying job as, you ready for it, an aeronautical engineer at Boeing to become, you ready, an Uber driver. Yeah, full-time Uber driver. And now he's making plenty educating other Uber drivers about how to create a sustainable business. So that is a very interesting interview. Hey, big love to Net Registry and Key Person of Influence for making this show possible. Please be sure to use Net Registry if you need a website or you need to get your website found. They've got exclusive listener packages over at netregistry.com.au/Timbo, including a $79 a month Do It For Me website package. And do grab a seat at the upcoming Key Person of Influence Business Brand Accelerator. Head over to keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. Grab a ticket. They're not expensive. They're ridiculously cheap. I'll be going to the Melbourne event and maybe we could have a beer afterwards. Come and say good day. Hey, thanks to Sonic Hedgehog himself, Mr. Daryl Delirious Misson, for this show's sound quality. And to Music Man Lockie Doley for all the bells and whistles you hear in the background. Well, actually, it's just him and his organ, but you know what I mean. You can check him out over at lockiedoley.com. If you want to surround yourself with other motivated business owners, join the Small Business Big Marketing Forum over at crankmymarketing.com. $69 a month, 30-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee. Hey, where is the risk? I'm only seeing upside. If you need a speaker for an upcoming event, Tim Reid, reid.com.au. I'm all yours. Seriously, I'll do whatever you need, within reason. Until next week, I am Timbo Reid, and thanks for listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.